This is WBSM On Demand.
Good morning. Good morning. 508-996-0500. Let's talk about the election. So whatever you're interested in talking about the election, I'm up for hearing it, okay? Pro-Trump, against Trump. I'd love to hear some talk about the local stuff because the local stuff really is what matters more. Congratulations, Steve Ouellette, another Democrat to the legislature. So I like Steve, and he's a taxpayer and seems like a reasonable guy. He sat here with us for an hour, and that's really what I ask, right? Is that you make yourself available not only to get elected, but to my audience and to my questions. And if you're willing to do that, I think I can work with you, right? I think our audience can work with you. I want to congratulate all the people at the Elections Commission who did a great job in New Bedford, actually all around the region. I don't think there were any problems at the ballot box. There are always going to be some confusion because it's the public, right? Dealing with the public, you're going to run into confusion. But as far as the operations, and look, I want to give you credit in the audience for being on top of it over the years when there's been mistakes in elections, bringing it right to the attention of this radio station and to me. And we get out there and we start to put pressure on the elected officials, and they make changes. So hopefully this is all the snafus and the ignorance and the lack of training has been crushed out of the local elections. People have finally learned their jobs, and that's good. That is a good thing. I give you, the audience, credit. Now, obviously, I have to take some credit for it, too. The mayor took our request seriously. He launched an investigation, and then they saw the flaws in what was happening, the people who didn't really, quite frankly, know what they were doing or, quite frankly, care what they were doing, I guess. And the mayor brought them up to his standard through training and discipline. And I would imagine telling people they're not going to be there much longer if they don't get it together. And we had what I think was a flawless election in New Bedford and throughout the region. So I think we all deserve a little bit of credit here. And it's good to, when a plan comes together, right? It is good when the ballots get there, and maybe I think we still have to work on the signage, but we don't know. Actually, there was no problem with signage. Remember, during the city election, you had signs telling people to vote the wrong day in the wrong place. It was an absolute disaster, really. But all of that through the spotlight that we're able to shine on it has brought real reform. So everybody out there who drew attention to the problems year after year, I know some people were sensitive that we were picking on them. A real loser talk, right? You're picking on me. Stop picking on me. I wish I wasn't being picked on. Right? But finally, we ground that out, changed some attitudes, right? Some people manned up or girled up, whatever you want to call it. And the biggest election, I think, of anybody's lifetime that's alive today happened locally without any problem. And that was because nobody wanted to be the GOAT. And in the GOAT, what I mean by the GOAT is sacrificed, right? Not the greatest of all time. There used to be a different meaning of the GOAT, right? When you went through basic training, you didn't want to be that guy, right? If many of you didn't go through basic training, but a lot of us did see the movie Full Metal Jacket. Remember the big fat guy that can't do anything right? He's caught with a donut in the way he gets all that hell from the drill instructor. Well, that's because those guys don't belong in a unit, and they know that. So we finally drummed that out, right? Or at least we trained that out of whoever was acting like that, right? So, congratulations, New Bedford, and really the whole region, who had really great elections. And by the way, the Republicans did really well once everybody took elections seriously, right? Once you start taking elections seriously and realize that everybody is watching, right? It's amazing how well the Republicans do when we pay attention to elections, when you, the public, pay attention to elections. It's amazing how good Republicans do when all the ballots are known to be counted, right? When all the shenanigans are pushed out of the elections because of the spotlight that this radio station brought. You may not like all of our opinions. You may not appreciate all of our hosts. But there is no doubt about it. We provide a great community asset, right? Because it's you, the audience, working with the public airwaves to shine a spotlight on problems. And we're going to continue to do that, right? You may not always agree with us, but you have to respect, maybe not even the hosts, but our audience, the audience that we bring to the table. Pure democracy, right? Anybody can pick up that phone and call 508-996-0500. Tell a friend, tell your neighbors. Do it here on WBSM. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Make no mistake, your impact or your show or WBSM had on making sure that the election, that they didn't have any issues that they've experienced in the past. You exposing that or just making people aware that those things existed is part of the reason that they got corrected. Give yourself some credit, or WBSM, or even the people, like you say. So the two other quick points I want to make.
Sure, go ahead. Absolutely.
I'm disappointed with the election being elected. I think he's just like Schmid. I listened to him on your show. He had a lot of, I don't know, I'll have to wait and see answers, and I think he's just going to go along to get along. But you gave me a butt chewing once and a pep talk about, because I was ready to just quit.
Yes, I remember you.
Politics. Yeah, but, I'm going to be calling that guy. He's going to know me. I'm going to get involved because I'm tired of, the Schmid going along to get along, and I think that's what we got. But I rarely vote for someone who wins. I can tell you I voted for President Trump.
Yes.
Just about everybody else I voted for did not win. But, hey, you got to take the losses with the wins. You know what I'm saying? And the last point I want to make is I do kind of get offended when I hear people say that if Kamala Harris was a white man, he would have been elected. I'm starting to get rather angry that people think that I'm that shallow, that I'm taking it personal, that I would vote that way based on gender. What I did do is I voted based on policy. And if she had the policy that Trump had and Trump wasn't in the picture, I would have voted for her.
Right,
I'd
exactly.
vote for anyone with you know what I'm saying?
I do know. The problem is not the personality, it's the policy.
Yeah. I mean, I think people, and I'll leave it at this, I think people were just fed up with some of the stuff that we talk about all the time. The stuff that bothers me is having certain agendas rammed down my throat that I don't agree with. And, the economy, definitely the border, and to think that I was going to vote for her with her policies, and because I didn't, that I'm somewhat prejudice against women or black women to boot. I'm starting to get aggravated at that.
Well, I wouldn't let it bother me because just consider the source. That's really all. Because, again, if they think that way, maybe that's how they make their decisions. The only thing that the only time gender ever matters to me is when I'm picking a sexual partner. Other than that, gender doesn't really make a difference to me. It really doesn't.
Amen, brother. Thank you, and keep up the good work, man.
I appreciate it. Don't be a stranger. Thank you. 508-996. I'm serious. I mean, I don't mean to be crude about it, but really, the only time gender really matters to me is when I'm picking a sexual partner, right? And so far, I'm 100% all women, right? Who knows? 508-996-0500. And for that, I guess I'm closed-minded. Who knows? Maybe I'm bad for that. I don't know. I'm just following the Bible and following my instincts, really. So, actually, it's really instincts. I'm going to take a quick break. If you're on hold, you stay there, and then we will speak with you when we get back. Again, I want to talk about the local elections, how they turned out. Again, I know that you can be upset about your candidate not getting elected, but I'm telling you, in those results, and we're going to continue to go over them, there's a lot of great things. If you look in the district that Ouellette won the election, the Democrat won the election, the majority of the people voted for conservative candidates. And by the way, Steve Ouellette is not a Marxist. He's a fairly conservative guy. The problem is he's going to have to take the Marxist line up there in the State House. Okay? Because that is the thinking within the, I'm sorry to say, the Democrat Party now. But anyway, we're going to take a break here and we'll be right back. Marthy, listen, the most profoundly American holiday, right? You got the 4th of July and you got Thanksgiving. So we here at WBSM want to help families, local families, celebrate together with our Hunger Heroes food drop. For the 32nd year, we'll be collecting food to benefit the United Way of Greater New Bedford's Hunger Heroes Project. Here's how you get involved. Join us at Aldi in Dartmouth on Saturday. That's out at the Dartmouth Mall. November 16th from 10 a.m. to noon to donate the necessary Thanksgiving items. You can find all the details at WBSM.com. If you don't have the internet or you don't want to bother with that, just think about what you have on Thanksgiving, non-perishable item, and bring it to Aldi, right? Go to Aldi and buy it, whatever. Hunger Heroes Food Drop is made possible by our friends at Is Schwartz Appliance, First Citizens Federal Credit Union, Carefree Homes, Aaron Pools and Spa. Come out to see us at All Day on Saturday, November 16th, 10 a.m. to noon. Donate something for another American family to enjoy a profoundly American holiday, Thanksgiving, right? Let me see here. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, good morning, Chris. It's Rick. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Rick Trapello. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for everything you do for the community. Hey, can I make a couple points this morning?
Of course, Rick. Go ahead.
First, thank you for commending New Bedford on doing the election as well as they did. And I'd like to give a big shout-out to every poll worker in the town of Fairhaven, Chris.
Amazing job, those people.
The day, oh, my God, Chris. They started the day probably at 4:30 and ended at 10. And it's really driven by a professional we have in the town, Liz Horan, as our town clerk. She's brought in some new technology with iPads, which made the line that Chris was around the rec center at 6:59 in the morning. She processed everybody. She's done a tremendous job. So I hope the town meeting recognizes that on the 19th and adjusts her salary and long term makes that a permanent position versus an elected position. So we keep somebody as professional as Liz Horan in the town.
Rick, I have to agree with you. When you find a professional that can do their job in today's day and age, you got to hold on to them.
Yes, you do. Second point, I know you get a lot of callers today. Big congratulations to a gentleman, Mr. Mark Silva, on winning the 10th Bristol versus another gentleman that I supported, Mr. Joe Pires. What struck me, Chris, and you said it as I was having my coffee driving into work, Joe is a Republican. Joe earned 12,000-plus votes in the 10th Bristol versus Mr. Silva, 13,000. So there are a hell of a lot of people in the 10th Bristol and along the South Coast that adhere to Joe's value of not buying into the Green New Deal,
right,
fiscal conservatorship, etc. So Republicans did a very good turnout on this past election day, Chris, and I think you drive a lot of the turnout. But I think people are opening their eyes as to what's going on fiscally and with all of this push to environmental issues in the town. So Joe Pires did a good job. I hope he really stays engaged and considers. I'm sure he's tired as hell today, but hope he gives consideration to another run at that office.
I think everybody should, and thanks for the call, and thanks for everything you do on the planning board, Rick Trapello. I would think that Joe Pires has got nothing to be ashamed of. He lost the election, but he'll still be on the regional school committee there in Old Rochester, and Joe's a good guy. So I don't know if he'll come back again. Sometimes it's, I don't know. It's entirely personal whether you come back or not. But certainly Joe Pires will be a member of this community. As an elected official, he'll be making policy. So we hope everybody stays engaged, even if they didn't win a paid job, right? 508-996-0500. That's how you can get on the program. Good morning. Thank you for holding.
Morning, Chris.
Hello.
Hello. I have a question I haven't heard personally answered, but how was the independent voters' vote swinging? Do you know?
Well, if you consider locally, obviously the majority of them voted. You just don't know, but whoever won obviously got the majority of the independent votes because that's the largest political party. So I would say in the case of, all right, so here's the thing. You can go in and vote for Donald Trump, right, or Miss Harris, and then you're going to vote further down the ballot. Now, if you know Joe Pires, you're probably more inclined to vote for him. If you knew Mark Sylvia, you're more inclined to vote for him. I told you, in my house, there was a little bit of a split, right, because Natalie knows Mark, and I know Joe. Mark, for some reason, is avoiding me. It probably will end. But so obviously I voted for the guy who came and sat in the studio with me for an hour, Joe Pires, and I didn't vote for Mark Sylvia because he literally ignored me. So that's probably to do with a left-wing bias in his mind, and the people who supported him, like the Coalition for Social Justice, who really don't like when I shine a light on what they're really up to. Or Maria Giesta, who's a big supporter of Mark Sylvia, and she's an absolute train wreck. So I can't tell you.
Are you speaking as an independent?
No, I'm speaking as a Republican, but what I'm saying is that when you go into the ballot box and vote, every race is different. So I can't tell you how the independents voted because a lot of them voted split tickets.
Well, I'm specifically speaking about for the presidential race, not for
Well, obviously they voted for Trump.
Well, you think so?
Well, he won the election. It was a $5 million swing, 5 million voter swing in his favor.
Okay.
Yeah,
and you attribute that to the independent?
Yes, because all the Republicans likely voted for Donald Trump, and all the Democrats likely voted for Harris. So the winner, got Donald Trump. I would say that most people support Donald Trump.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering. I hadn't heard that. In the past elections, you always hear about where the independent vote's going to go, and if they swing towards Democrats or Republicans. And I didn't hear any of it actually. But that's only what I heard personally.
Yeah. Yeah. No. If you figure out who won, because you don't know, because individual voters vote individually, right? Think about how you vote. If your neighbor was I don't know how you affiliate, but if you're unenrolled and say you lean to be conservative. So you might vote on the national ticket that way. But if your neighbor next door to you is a Democrat, even a liberal Democrat that doesn't always agree with you, you figure there's so many issues and I know them and they're a good person and I'm going to give them a vote. So I think people split the ticket.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot did too. Okay,
how did you vote?
A split.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
So, but thanks for the call. Don't be a stranger. That's a great question, actually. Really great question. Thank you. Yeah, I think most people, look, I'll give you a good example. I voted for Donald Trump, and I voted for Senator Mark Montigny, right? I voted for Julie Ruggiero, I'm good friends with her father, and she sat here for an hour with me and you taking our questions, and so I rewarded her with a vote. Now, that's difficult because all the other candidates in that race also sat here with me and took my question for an hour. So that's not always the standard, right? Now, it happened to be that when there's two guys in the race and a good-looking girl, I go with a good-looking girl. I'm just joking. Well, I guess I'm not joking. But anyway, 508-996-0500. I can be won over. I am a man. And her father's a great friend of mine, and her father I voted for. Now, we haven't figured that out yet. Who got more votes in the greater New Bedford area? Julie or her dad? Right? They're both Democrats, but he's a former police officer. She's a nurse. I don't know. I don't know how it ended up. Well, I'll have to look at those results. But both of them got in, and I voted for both of them. So my point is, I voted for Donald Trump, and I voted for a couple of Democrats. Right? And that's just the way it is, because locally, I pay a lot more attention than the average person. It's part of my profession. So that's how it works for me. Anyway, the New England Patriots, another great American tradition, right? Football. You can hear it only here on WBSM. They are going up against the Chicago Bears this week. You can find the New England Patriots all season long here on WBSM. Patriots against the Bears. Kickoff is 1 p.m. pregame on WBSM. Begins at 10 a.m. It's still enough time to come in and sponsor the latter part of the season here on WBSM with the New England Patriots. So be here. Actually, reach out to Mark Stokowski if you're interested in doing that. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
What's happening, my man?
I want to just chime in on what the woman was asking about the independent voters. And now we know it's 51% independent voters were tabulated. And I believe it's 37% Republican and 37 Republican and about maybe 23% Democrat. But let me just say an insight from observing this election. Even people like Bill Ackerman, when he came on Squawk Box with John Kernan, listed all the things that he didn't like about the Democrat Party, especially Kamala Harris. I think that there's going to be a shift in the moderates in the Democratic Party to push out the far left extremists if they're going to exist as a party. I think there is a grassroots effort to push them out. They know, those within the the strategists, that they will no longer exist because most Americans are moderates. So that's my take on the whole thing. What's your insight on that, Chris?
So I usually watch Squawk Box before I come down to the radio station. It's kind of weird. I'll have Tim on in the background or on in the forefront and Squawk Box in the background. So I've been watching, and obviously we know Bill Ackerman for a long time. He's a big-time investor, a billionaire, really. He went to Harvard. I think Columbia maybe. Anyway, he was really upset with all the anti-Israel stuff, the pro-Hamas stuff, the anti-American stuff, and that is in the Democrat Party now. So I would like to hope they're going to push those people out. But, there's only a certain number of people that are really political activists. It takes a certain kind of personality to be a political activist, whether you're a conservative or a Democrat, conservative or a liberal. There's only a certain number of people that really gravitate to politics, that want to take leadership roles.
Right, like Bill Ackman, like you're talking about. I mean, he's well-known, venture capitalist.
Yes.
And if he views his opinions, there are many others, too, who are Democrats, but didn't like this overtaxation and where this country is going in extremists, right, when it's identity politics and the other thing. But let me just correct those numbers for you and your audience.
Okay.
According to Joe Manchin, he looked at registered voters, 51% independents, 25% Republicans, and 23% Democrats. But they're closet Democrats who also, I think, tipped Trump over the top. So that's my take on it, Chris. You have a good day, Chris.
You too, my friend, as always. Thank you. Again, it really depends on where you are in the country. So if you are an unenrolled voter here in Massachusetts, that's different than being an unenrolled voter in Oklahoma, quite frankly. So that all goes into, and again, I know, and I concentrate on just really, quite frankly, Bristol County, Plymouth County, and we do a little bit of Norfolk County, right? Depending on what we're doing with the Reed case, right? So basically, and I mean, I look at Massachusetts as a unit, but I really concentrate locally, which is Bristol and Plymouth County, Cape Cod, right? So the unenrolled voter here is different than the unenrolled voter in Oklahoma. So 508-996-0500 so you can get on the program. I'm curious how you feel about the election results. Do you feel good about them? I think everybody should feel good about them. We finally had a flawless election in New Bedford, right? We, the audience, you and me, shined a spotlight on it. I kept it going because I understood we could get more out of people that were doing their job, right? That people were better than their performance. And I knew that, and I believed in them, and I kept the spotlight on them like a good coach does, right? We brought the mayor here every week. We talked about it with him, and he implemented the reforms. He investigated it. He got down to, I think they put the best political spin they could on it, but they knew they had a problem, and they fixed it, right? They fixed it. And that is because you stayed consistently concerned about your civil rights. I stayed concerned about your civil rights because voting is a civil right. It's no different than the Freedom Riders going down to Alabama, quite frankly, right? Signs telling people to go vote on the wrong day in the wrong place. That is exactly what the Klan was doing. Then they brought the clubs too. But really, we brought the spotlight. We brought the sunlight, and we disinfected the elections. And no surprise, the Republicans did a lot better. 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, bud. What's going on, man?
You tell me.
So I was looking into the people who endorsed Trump, and it kind of followed my own evolution during the primary season in 2020, and it followed all the way through to 2024. So back in 2016, I was with Tulsi Gabbard in 2016. I thought she was very good.
Yep.
I didn't like Clinton as much. And RFK, and I'm watching Joe Rogan. So RFK, very well-known liberal, ultra-liberal Democrat. You had Tulsi Gabbard was the vice chair of the DNC.
Yep.
You had
the Democrat National Committee is what the DNC is.
Yes, the DNC, Democratic National Committee. She was the vice chair right behind Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Yep.
In Florida. And then you have Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was a twice voting Obama supporter who claimed on his podcast and multiple times that Obama is the greatest president in recent history. That's what he claimed. So these are the people who endorse Trump, on top of Elon Musk, who also is a well-known independent, but consistently voted for Democrats. So this is the coalition. Oh, by the way, and Tulsi Gabbard stopped being the vice chair when she endorsed Bernie Sanders. So she is far and away not a conservative. So that's something that I followed. I thought was very interesting. When people start to talk about Donald Trump and how he's going to take away rights and he's going to do all kinds of bad things and he's some kind of right-wing, ultra-conservative fascist, these are the people who are in his camp. A Bernie girl. She endorsed Bernie Sanders, a former DNC vice chair. All these people all endorsed, prior to Donald Trump, Democrats, Obama Democrats.
Right, but that gives a lot of people who are longtime conservatives, like myself, a little bit of concern.
Right. And the fact that you all understood, they all have a role. It shows that Trump is not this far right-wing Nazi fascist conspiracy guy. You know,
right.
it's just
but that's a myth created by his political opponents. I mean, nobody really thought that. The people saying it didn't really believe it. That's my point. The Democrat leadership was literally lying to their own supporters. I don't listen to them. I know they're lying. But the fact that they drove the political system in that direction is outrageous, and nobody should be forgiven for it.
No,
they don't believe
not.
they don't deserve leadership. When you label another person erroneously, and you know it, a Russian spy and at the same time a Nazi, you do not deserve any credibility whatsoever, and that includes the major party candidate, right? The woman who gave the speech yesterday. a ridiculous, foolish speech, laughing. And I mean, she said, I'm full of gratitude, yet she showed up almost a half hour late for her own supporters, a day after she should have conceded. It was absolutely outrageous. She should not be given any credibility whatsoever. Kamala Harris, ridiculous.
No, this should be the end of her career.
Right.
You know what I also think, I spoke with Tim this morning actually on this, is Roe versus Wade. What Trump did by kicking
Listen,
it to
we don't talk about abortion here, but I appreciate it. 508-996-0500. It's just not a topic we do here. I don't want to go down that road. He's got great opinions. I'm sure I'd love to hear it, but I don't want to open that can here. And we don't want to discuss abortion here on the program. It's just not what we do. I've got my opinions, believe me. So 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thank you for holding.
Good morning, Chris.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. I was listening to you, how you voted. There's a lot of people. I'm just curious now. Okay. I'm not a Republican, but I'm not a Democrat either.
Right.
I'm an independent, I guess.
Yeah, you are.
But you were saying that you do vote for Democrats.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people do, I guess.
Yeah.
But right now, I wouldn't vote for any Democrat because they all follow the same party line, which is, to me, is left right now. All Democrats do. So this time around, I didn't vote for any Democrat just because of that.
So I understand that philosophy, and here's the thing. I have personal relationships and have long, serious policy discussions. I had 2 of them this morning with elected Democrats, and they listened to me, and you're not going to change the composition of the Massachusetts legislature overnight. So I'd rather have friends who listen to me, and by the way, are very reasonable people and property owners and taxpayers and have the same fears about crime that I do. They might not respect gun rights, but they just don't really understand them, or they're afraid of them. But we have shared values, and so I'd rather have those guys in the legislature recognizing the composition of what could be coming out of the greater New Bedford area.
Yeah, I understand that, but I have my position is you got to give them a message. All Democrats, you got to give them a message.
Well, they got a message. Believe me, people are. If you're an elected Democrat in Bristol and Plymouth County, if you still have a job, you've definitely got a message.
Okay, buddy.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the call. 508-996-0500. If you're on hold, stay there. If you'd like to get in, I got 2 open phone lines, so it's not a bad time to try to call. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. By the way, I want to draw your attention to the New Bedford Light. I think they've done I've been saying this for months now, or years, really. They do a great job over there. I don't always agree with their opinions or whatever, but they get the facts right generally. The New Bedford Light, they've got a really interesting article about the immigration, the illegal immigration industrial complex in the greater New Bedford area, primarily New Bedford, although they don't live in New Bedford, who are firing up to fight the Trump administration, basically to reject the election. I want you to read that article, okay, in the New Bedford Light, because, folks, we've been talking about the Capitol Theater project here on this program now. A couple of years, I think we're into it now, right? The Capitol Theater project, all the taxpayer money that's gone into the Capitol Theater. So I want you to read that article in the New Bedford Light about the immigration battle. You've got some local activists who have taken in millions of dollars in taxpayer money, and they're going to use that money to defend illegal aliens. It's an amazing article, and I'm going to connect it together with the Capitol Theater project, which the City Council has been voting for. And when I mean the City Council, the entire City Council, led by Siesta Giesta, right? Maria Siesta, leading the council down the Primrose Path, giving away millions of dollars to the Capitol Theater project, and what it really is going to be used for, folks. It's all laid out in that article, all right? And all those city councilors, with the exception of Sean Oliver and Leo Choquette, who voted no. We've been documenting here. I've got recordings. Those guys are the only two city councils. That means Ian Abreu voted for it, Brian Gomes voted for it, Joe Lopes had a major conflict of interest, but he voted for it. That conflict is gone now, but they voted for it. So get the New Bedford Light online and check out that article. We're going to go. We got full phone lines. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning.
What's happening?
Not much. I didn't vote for Trump, and I congratulate him. He won. I'm actually surprised because all of a sudden we're not hearing anything about interference in the election and cheating and all that. I guess that just magically went away. But I make a note, like when I listen to both candidates, I thought they were both lousy candidates anyway, but I jot down things that people say, and then I try to, like, hold them to it when they get in. Like, for instance, I've got him online and in his rally saying on day one, I'm going to call Putin and I'm going to end the war on Ukraine.
Okay.
So I'm going to hold him to that. And you know what? I like that. A lot of the things he's saying I like. He also said he's going to lower food prices. I like that. He also said, Vance actually got specific about the immigration. We're going to go out and round up all these aliens, illegal aliens, especially the ones that have criminal records, and get rid of them. I totally support that. So I'm on board with that. And he's going to actually, he said many times, he's going to lower gas prices. I don't know how much lower he's going to put them. And I don't think any president has the authority to do that. But anyway, I guess what I'm getting at is I'm actually excited because there's 4 or 5 things that I totally agree with him on, but I'm going to hold him accountable. I don't want to hear,
but let me ask you a question.
Be in office.
He'll never be on the ballot again. How are you going to hold him accountable? The only way we hold people accountable is with the ballot box.
No, the only way I'm going to call him accountable is by calling you guys.
Oh, I appreciate that, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do.
To say, well, what happened to this? And let me give you an example, and you can chime in, and I'm totally open to this. So, was it 8 years ago, 12 years ago, that he had a new, wonderful, beautiful health plan? And I still haven't seen it. Now, I don't want it because I'm fine where I'm at.
Right.
But what happened to that?
I have no idea.
Where'd that go?
I have no idea. Remember, I know no more than what's in the public domain, really.
Exactly.
So,
but all this stuff I'm talking about, you can go on Google and pull it up, and they'll show him saying what I just said.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, that's what we need you. That's what we need you in the audience for, to call in regularly and keep us posted.
Right, exactly. So it's not. I'm not against him. Again, I'm going to reiterate this. If he does the 5 things I just said, I think that's wonderful for us and the country, no matter how you voted. But now you got to do it. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with you. Listen, and thanks for the call, my friend. And listen, I think everybody should do that. That is how a republic works. You make a promise. We trust you before you do it, right? Now, the thing about with Trump is he did a lot of this before he got in, so we have a track record. The problem was, for Kamala, is she had a track record as the vice president, and they had screwed it all up. So, 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding. I appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
What's happening?
For that last caller, Russia's already reached out to Trump. His brass has already reached out saying that they're looking forward to a U.S. reset, and his mutual friends have already contacted Trump for Putin. And you're a sales manager. You know what it's like when you're in a negotiation. It's like, sometimes who is it that folds their cards first, or who is it that tips their hand first, or communicates first? And it's been interesting to see a number of major leaders around the world, which ones have reached out already. The first one was Saudi Arabia, which I was like, oh, Iran's going to hate that.
Yes.
So, no, I think I don't want to talk about that, but I think that caller's going to be surprised on some of the stuff that's just naturally going to happen because of a real leader.
Right.
But Ray called in, and I agree with what he said. The Trump transition team, RFK, Tulsi, Vivek, Elon, that was a real pleasant surprise, and I think that helps people move to the middle from the Republican side and from the Democratic side to see this cooperative action, because Elon was 7 months ago was a Democrat.
Yes.
Tulsi Gabbard, like you outlined, I mean, she got kicked out because she didn't support Hillary. And then Hillary turned around and called her a Russian asset. She wanted to destroy her, and she said, "Oh, if this is the way you're going to treat people, you can't be elected to support people because you got it wrong." But I guess my question to you is this: I've been hearing a lot of Democrat pushback. I think some of it is in denial, and some of it is like they're not going to change anything.
Right.
Even last night in the concession speech, she used the word fight like 6 times, and then
terrible.
she said And so I guess my question to you is how does the Democratic Party move from being lie, cheat, steal at all costs to win whatever, immigration, new Green Deal? How does the party move? Because if they don't move, because they're so far left that, even Bernie Sanders came out last night and said, you lost the working person, and they're not coming back if you keep it up. He virtually endorsed Trump. He said Trump did such a great job.
Well, the thing is, and thanks for the call, my friend, I would say that they've got to get rid of some of these real left-wing cadre, if they can, who are pushing the party towards the communist agenda. It really is what they're doing. I know the average Democrat is recoils in horror with that. Guys like Leo Choquette, they don't want to be a communist. They're not communists. They're God-fearing Americans. But there is an invasion it started way back in the 30s. But anyway, we can get into that another time. Folks, if you're on hold, stay there. I do have to take a break. We'll be right back.
New kicks, ones like you ain't never seen.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Chris McCarthy. We're going to go right back to the phones. Good morning. I believe this is Don LeBlanc.
Yeah. Hi, Chris. Dan.
Dan, how you? I was going to call you by your real name, Don. Okay. But Dan, how are you? Okay. How are you, my friend? What's happening?
Well, I know that it's on been on Facebook, and I heard last night about the Fairhaven VFW closing the doors.
Okay.
I'm only repeating what I've read and seen and heard. Is that the commander of the post had a stroke and couldn't continue on as a commander, and no one stepped up to replace a commander, and membership voted to close and sell the building. I'm not sure. It's been happening, as you know. New Bedford has no more VFWs because of the same situation. All the VFWs that existed in the past, Porter Post, Andrews Day Hill, the one down in the South End, they've all closed. There's no VFWs in New Bedford any longer, and I know that those VFWs that remain in our district are all struggling to a certain extent. We're hanging on, but it reminds me of back in the day when we came home from Vietnam. A lot of Vietnam guys joined but couldn't participate at meetings and membership because they're raising families and had jobs.
Right.
And I kind of think that's what's happening in today's market as far as veterans organizations are concerned. Membership everywhere for not just the VFW, but a lot of other veterans organizations is struggling. Guys and ladies are not joining. I know. For example, the VFW, the state last year had a deal on membership. If you joined for a life membership, the state VFW would pay half of your membership fee.
Really? So this is the Fairhaven VFW. Yours is the free